Hi there y'all, I'm Tom, and this is Empty Pantry Entrees, a place where you can come to learn all the skills you need to make delicious creations from only the odds and ends in your pantry. Today we're making a wonderfully delicious beginner banh mi that has just the right amount of savory, just the right amount of sweet, just a sneaky little bit of spicy, and just a little bit of nice fresh acidity in the end to just balance everything out. It honestly is a wonderful
really
sandwich.
good sandwich.
I probably pay like $12 to $20 to me because I like food and I'm an idiot. I'm calling today's recipe a beginner banh mi's recipe because there's no need for any specialty ingredients. Pretty much everything we're gonna be using today can be found at, your average American grocery store. I hope you're ready for a lot of video shots of me chopping away at vegetables because without further ado, I think it is about time for us to move on. Alrighty, so like I said, a whole lot of chopping footage today because we're going to be making a fantastic pickled veggie medley. You'll start first with half of a large English cucumber, liberated from its plastic prison by slicing halfway longitudinally and peeling back. Slice down the line, then spin and slice across the last cut to create small triangular pieces. Once you've made yourself a nice little pile, drop them all into a large mixing bowl and reward yourself with a little snack. Next up in our medley is going to be our radishes, about 4 or 5 of these guys separated from their leaves and washed thoroughly. Same sort of idea, going for the little wedged pieces just like the cucumber. Next up are the jalapenos, which I'll leave the seeds in from one of them and slice down again into the little wedge shapes. Then with the second jalapeno, I've used a spoon to scrape out all of the seeds and the pith that keep the spicy capsaicin. This way our pickled veggies aren't overly fiery. And look at that, our veggie medley is looking awfully colorful, just missing a small handful of shredded carrots to add just a bit of extra crunch and color. Now to make these magically delicious, you'll sprinkle in about a half a teaspoon or so of salt, a full teaspoon of sugar, and then our pickling acid is going to be a more mild rice vinegar, as you can see here. About 2 to 3 tablespoons or just enough to moisten all of the veggies. Send that bowl to Spin City and don't forget that half teaspoon of black pepper. Then put all of the contents into a quart-sized container and put it into the fridge for about a half an hour or so while we get everything else ready. Next up is going to be some green onions, about 3 stalks lazily cut into segments. Then go back and really mincify those down into some finely sized pieces. That pile of green onion mince goes into a small sauce holder and is immediately tossed with a gross sounding squirt of mayo. Then as much sriracha as you'd like. Want it just a little bit spicy here, but not too much to burn your tongue off. After that, you'll lawnmower down a handful or so of fresh cilantro, setting aside in a baby mason jar for future use. Then grate down a knob of ginger directly onto the cutting board. I personally am a huge fan of this technique of creating a ginger garlic paste. Just equal parts grated ginger and minced garlic onto a cutting board, then pressed and sliced with a knife to more fully incorporate the two. I first started using this technique a while back in the vegan keema video, but nowadays I often have a little jar of this paste ready to go on hand. Back again with the green onions, we've got a couple stalks cut into 1-inch segments. These are going to be in the frying pan directly, so let's not make them too small. Alright, now sauce time. You ready for this? About 3 tablespoons of fish sauce, 1 teaspoon of sugar, half a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of black pepper, a tablespoon of sesame oil, and then about a teaspoon or so of chili sauce. Mix that all up together and you've got a flavor bomb ready to go for your meat. Now for the final chopping step. For this recipe, I've got about a pound or so of this pork tenderloin that I'll be slicing into little rounds and then going back and breaking down into strips. It does take a bit of time, but I promise you the texture you get at the end of the day with these strips of pork is so much more satisfying than using ground pork. But if you want to take the easy way, by all means, I'm not going to stop you. Over on the stove, we're of course going to be using our trusty cast iron and set over a medium-high heat. And I may have lied to you about the slicing. We've got just a bit more to do with our breading. These take and bake loaves are the perfect size for this sandwich. Unfortunately, I thought I was getting clever by just simply toasting them rather than, giving them a proper bake. It was okay, it just made for a slightly chewier sort of sandwich bread. Learn from my mistakes, don't take the easy way out sometimes. Alright, with the cast iron nice and hot, in goes a splash of oil and then a tablespoon or so of our ginger garlic paste, as well as our sliced green onions. and saute that away until that raw garlic and ginger smell subsides. After that comes our pile of pork that will be stirred very minimally while it cooks in order to develop a bit of a crust around each piece. Obviously, if it starts to stick, give it a toss, but really try to keep it stationary as much as possible. Now let's start to make this thing taste phenomenal. After the pork has cooked through, you'll pour in your fish sauce from earlier, and to be honest, hold your breath. It's going to be a very pungent smell when the sauce hits the pan, but I promise you it's going to taste fantastic. Next goes in a healthy pinch of cilantro, along with an equally healthy amount of lightly dried parsley. After that goes about half a cup of our sriracha mayo mix, just enough to moisten it all up. Then, to me, this looked like it could use a little bit more heat, so in goes a little bit more sriracha. I'm no stranger to it, you do what, makes you happy. But lastly, and not optionally, we are going to zest a lime all over the meat, as well as juice it so that we can cut through all of the fattiness of that mayo. And with that combined, we're pretty much done. All that's left is assembly. Just scoop out onto your toasted bread a touch of your deliciously pickled veggie medley, a healthy scoop of your ultra savory meat, and top with the other half of the sandwich. That really is all there is to it, which makes this sandwich fantastic to make for a crowd since all you really have to do is prep 2 main fillings. And let's give her a look. Man, does that sandwich look tasty to me. Flavor-wise, this sandwich really does hit all categories. Savory, fulfilling, hearty, slightly acidic to cut through all the richness, a fresh tasting that comes with those cucumbers, and, slightly spicy with the jalapenos. If you're really looking for a layered sort of sandwich in terms of all of the flavors and tastes and experiences that you have, this banh mi is honestly for you. And that's about all I have for you this time. Make this one at home and let me know how it goes. This banh mi recipe is honestly one of my most recent favorites. And then beyond that, I just gotta say, sorry for the delay on putting this video together and putting this recipe out. It's been a busier sort of time recently. But if you like this content, you should definitely share, follow, the whole 9 yards. It really does support the channel when you show that sort of, feedback. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all next time.